Hello and welcome to Media Queen TV. We are in our 2025 series, episode 7. And today we're going to be chatting with the effervescent, amazing Sharon Jurd, who I absolutely adore. I am part of her community and love working with this lady. We're going to chat about how to move forward when you're stuck. Welcome to the show, Sharon.
Thanks for having me, Aldwyn. I'm happy to chat about this subject all day long. So I hope you've got the timer on so we don't go too long, but I want to share everything I know about being stuck.
Yay, awesome. Now, for those who don't know you, Sharon is a 7-figure business coach. She's a mindset and success coach, speaker, author, and CEO of SMJ Coaching Institute. She owns 9 companies and enjoys margaritas and hiking. I'm about ready for a margarita now, I was just saying earlier.
Yeah.
She's the #1 best-selling international author of 2 books entitled How to Grow Your Business Faster Than Your Competitor and Extraordinary Women in Franchising. So stoked to have you on the show, Sharon. And what a great topic this is. I think a lot of people are going to be very inspired by this because I know there's a lot of people feeling very stuck right now. So how to move forward when you're stuck. So firstly, what would you say to people who are feeling stuck right now?
Well, I think the first thing that you need to do is really acknowledge that, because some people don't name it or put a feeling towards it and feel like they're busy and moving forward, but that doesn't mean they're actually got the momentum. So going, well, hang on, I'm doing, Groundhog Day. I'm doing the same thing, but I'm not getting different results or better results or the outcomes that I'm after. So the first thing is really pause and reflect on, what have I been doing? Have I been bringing my best self? Have I been doing what I need to do? Or is it something a little bit more internal or external? And sometimes it can be both, but it's just taking that moment to pause. I think that is really important to do that first and go, hey, acknowledge it. Because a lot of times people won't acknowledge that they're stuck or having challenges and don't want to admit that they're a failure or can't do it, all those things that are going on in their head, which is not true most of the time. But let's have a look at just taking a moment and going, hey, this is where I am, because you have to get real with yourself. If you're not real with yourself, you can never make the changes to move forward.
So important. And slow down to speed up.
I know.
My favorite sayings. I remember a guy called Richard Flint on a corporate stage many years ago. He said, slow down to speed up. And it just stuck with me. And I think it is just so important in this sort of rat race of life that just seems to be speeding up. Life just seems to be absolutely speeding up for most people. And I think since the advent of social media 20 odd years ago, I think it has just gone exponential with how much information and all the AI, of course.
Because that's fast-paced. All of those things are fast-paced. They expect an immediate response, an immediate action. And so we're dragged in, I'll say dragged in to this fast pace. And we don't need to be. There's times to go hard, there's time to go fast, and then there's time to rest. And I'm always very conscious of that with my coaching clients and the like. Where are we in that cycle? Because you cannot go hard and fast 24/7 for 52 weeks of the year. It is just humanly impossible. You'll just get to burnout. So it's that stop, pause, reflect, and then, of course, reset if you need to.
So important. Now, personally, I've actually had depression over the years, or I've had depressive episodes over the years, and I have had 4 friends who've suicided as well by the age of 45. And I know through COVID, we've had 4 times normal suicide rates globally. We have about 1 million people a year worldwide who take their own lives, which is absolutely tragic. And through COVID, through the last 5 years, it's been really, really challenging. I know just one lockdown in Brisbane, there was 38 suicides, and that was insider information from someone in the police force. So obviously a lot of people have been feeling very stuck and not knowing how to move forward. And of course, freedom is something that we all want. And when people are locked down and when they're sort of coerced into doing things that they don't want to do, I think that can be even harder. So I think there's a fine line between, what is going on the outside versus what is going on the inside. And I know you do a lot of work around this. So being conscious is one thing. Getting conscious to where we're at is one thing. For some people, though, they still feel, even though they're conscious of it, they still feel really stuck. So what else can they do there?
Yeah, I think I say this as a cliche, but I want to just, build this out a bit, is revisit your why. And it's a little bit different for what I'm talking about, because I see so many people going, I don't know what my why is. I don't know what my purpose is. I've had clients come to me and say, I've worked on this for 2 years and I still don't know my purpose and my why. But I want to say we need to revisit our why, right? Really get to the crutch of why we're doing this. And my definition of why is, what do you want the outcome to be? People go, I want to earn $1 million, but that's not the answer. It's, why do you want that $1 million? Is it to put your children through school? Is it to buy your parents a house? Is it to have a holiday, secure your own future, support your own church or your charity? And so rather than going, oh, what's my purpose? This is the outcome I want. This is the why, because I want to be able to support my parents in their old age, whether they're in care or in the like. So really sit down. And again, it's that pause, sit down. I like lists. Write down all the outcomes that you want. Why are we doing this? For what purpose are we doing it? Is a great question. For what purpose rather than a why? Then it could be one, it could be many things why you're doing this. And that gives you some clarity and going, yeah, well, that's what I'm striving for. And that's what's going to keep you going when the going gets tough. You made this resolve that you were going to buy your family home or do this for your children. And so then when it is getting tough, this is what you can draw on. You can draw on the list and go, this is why I'm doing this and I've got to keep going. Yeah. So it's a matter of making that list and going, hey, I'm really clear on how I'm going to help people. Because it really comes down to helping someone, whether it be yourself or others. And it's not selfish to help yourself, right? Because a lot of people feel a little bit clunky around that, going, I want to buy myself a diamond ring. That's not, being materialistic or selfish in those negative sense that we're so used to. If you want to go and buy yourself a sports car and that's your outcome, happy days, go do it. If that's what's important to you, don't worry about what the society is telling you is right or wrong. Go do that.
Yes, follow your heart, follow your passion. Now, I have had business coaches in the past say, oh, it doesn't matter, what your passion is. It's not about passion. People just want to make money, right? It's not about helping causes, etc., which I totally disagree with. And each to their own. And this is where, some things, some mentors say I take with a grain of salt, and others that resonate with me, I'll go, yeah, okay, I might take that one on board. Simon Sinek talked about the power of why. Why do you do what you do? And it's at the basis of, the Ikigai principle too, is about finding your purpose, the Japanese principle about how to find your joy. And Bob Proctor, I know in one of his videos on YouTube, someone said, how do you find your purpose? And he said, do what you love every single day. Do as much as you can of what you love. So when you think about your why, and some people over analyze and by paralysis about what's my why. Well, maybe there's several whys in there. Maybe there's, what is it that lights you up? What is it that gives you joy? And
I think people, sorry to cut you off, people dig down. Like, I get up every day going, whose life am I going to change today? I go to bed, whose life did I change today? Now, that might be just smiling at someone in a coffee shop or doing something like releasing anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. And I don't care how I do that. So I don't care. Like when I was in real estate, I was changing people's lives, we're helping them buy their first home, helping them to downsize after passing of a loved one. and then in franchising, getting people into their own business, and then we clean air conditioners. So, getting people with asthma and allergens in a clean indoor air, environment. I don't care what it is. I like the outcomes. Where a lot of people go, well, what should I be doing every day? As long as I'm changing people's lives, then I'm a happy girl. Yeah.
And maybe there's some wisdom to be learned when we do have these stuck moments. Maybe it's the universe saying slow down. Maybe you've just been burning the candle at both ends, as they say. Maybe you're in overwhelm, which is very common now. I find a lot of people burnt out, overwhelm a lot. It's kind of almost an epidemic of that. And, I can relate, having had that myself over many years, and, feeling like the mouse on the wheel. A lot of people feel like this, mouse on the wheel, that always doing the same, expecting different results.
Well, that was the next thing I was going to talk about, Aldwyn, is changing your perspective, because what may have been what you wanted before may not be what you want now. We grow as people, and we learn new things, and we get older, and our family dynamics change, and as I've had a dramatic change in talking about suicide. My husband took his own life last year, and that changed my whole perspective on why was I doing this now. It wasn't for John and my future anymore. What do I want to work towards? And I had to find new reasons to keep going, in my business, in all of my businesses. And it's then that perspective. Well, a lot of people were doing it to get their children through school, and now they're through school. Why are they doing it now? So the perspective has to change during your life cycle, I believe. That I'm not saying it can't stay the same, but a lot of times it will change, and you have to lean into that change and go, well, I had to come up with, my future build, my compelling future.
And I'm so sorry to hear about John. He was a wonderful man, and I think we were all shocked, by that news. And it was straight after your, hypnotism. Straight after your hypnotist, was it 3-day course you did on?
Yeah, so my modern day hypnosis, workshop. So straight after that, yeah. So it changes the way you think about things. It changes the way you look at your future. It changes the way you look at your immediate, perspective, what's happening today. And so I think we have to be malleable or, adaptable in changing our way forward. Because a lot of people go, well, I was doing it for this. Now, if I got stuck there, and we're talking about being stuck. If I got stuck there and went, well, I was doing all this for John and my future, then I would continue to be stuck there. I had to find a different reason for me to keep building my business and moving forward.
Yeah, and there's certain things in life we just cannot control, right? Where a lot of people get stuck because they make themselves wrong about, oh, what if I did this? Or what could I have changed it by doing this? Or, the conversation, the 60,000 thoughts we have a day, for most people, 90% of the same thoughts we had yesterday, and 80% are negative for most people. So actually being able to silence the mind for a minute and actually accept the things we cannot change, as they say, one of my favorite lines I heard in a landmark course was, be committed, not attached. Be committed to what you want, not attached to what that's going to look like. And that can be easier to say than do sometimes. However, just notice how much we actually are our own worst enemies when it comes to being stuck, how much we actually glue ourselves to the ground.
Yeah, we hang on to something that I always say, it feels like that warm blanket in the middle of winter, that hot chocolate, even though it may not be serving us well, it's easy to hang on because we don't know anything else. We don't know another way, or we haven't experienced another perspective or another, actionable, task moving forward. So we hang on to what we know, which often doesn't serve us well. And when I describe it like a warm blanket, everyone goes, yeah, I know that feeling. It's my comfort zone, and I want to just stay there. They know that it's not helping them move forward, but here they are stuck in the warm blanket.
Yeah, it's so true. We've got beautiful Jacqueline Price with us. Hey, Jacqueline. She says, thank you. Important information. Thank you, Jacqueline from Newcastle area. Actually, Jacqueline's one of our authors in our Fear to Freedom book. We just launched last Saturday in Sydney, sold out book launch, and Jacqueline is right there at the bottom. There you are, Jacqueline. Now, Jacqueline's got an interesting story. She had an accident, was in a wheelchair for 12 years, and then did the fire walk twice after that with Tony Robbins. So extraordinary, Jacqueline. Thank you for joining us. And for those joining us also on LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you're joining us now, we love this to be an interactive show. So if you have some comments or, any wisdom you'd like to share about how you have unstuck yourself or what has helped you through this, because, it's a very common thing. And I don't think it's natural to be always on a high in life, as much as, I'm a big stand for positivity, etc. I say it's the roller coaster ride of life that we go through, and it's actually navigating all those ups and downs and rounds and rounds. Now, with that, one thing's been really helpful for me is meditation. Now, Sharon, do you meditate? And what are your thoughts on meditation?
Yeah, I do meditation, but I do hypnosis mainly because I'm a accredited master trainer and practitioner in hypnosis. So I utilize hypnosis, which is a deeper form of meditation. So you just go into a different brainwave, but daily, and so and a lot of people say, oh, I can't meditate. I used to say that myself. I can't meditate. I can't close that noise off. But you just sit and take a couple of breaths. You go into a meditative state, and even if it is only for a very short time, then you're getting some benefit. A lot of people think that they have to meditate for 20 minutes. You meditate for a minute, it's more helpful than not meditating at all. But I like, just going into that deeper trance with hypnosis. It's a part of my daily ritual. I utilize it to release stuff that's going on, and I also use it for my compelling future. I ask my unconscious mind for answers, that I need, not the lotto numbers, but I ask about, am I on the right path, and show me a sign of that right path, and you'll get those messages coming back to you, whether it's in prayer, meditation, or hypnosis. It's all really, really good stuff, particularly for your unconscious mind. Because a lot of people walk around, just as a side note, a lot of people walk around with their unconscious mind. An unconscious mind is like an unruly teenager in your head. So if you don't tell it what you want it to do, it's running around thinking it knows what to do, and it does not, because it's a teenager. How teenagers think they know everything. Well, your unconscious mind does that. So every day I'm wanting to ask my unconscious mind, or give it clear direction on what I need it to do, because its prime directive is to follow your instruction. So I give it instruction so I get great outcomes. So it quietens the noise down, because if we're going, Sharon, you need to do this, you need to do this. And what I do is I give my unconscious mind lots of jobs and tasks to do. So it quietens down the mind. So even if you don't meditate, just tell your unconscious mind what you need it to do for the day, and it'll go off and do it. And it won't hassle you so much, because it'll be trying to remind you of things, and if the unconscious mind says, you need to pay some bills, I go, yep, unconscious mind, I'm doing that. I'm writing it on my to-do list, and I'm going to do that at 3 p.m. And so it quietens that down and goes, okay, at 3 p.m. I'm coming back to remind you if you don't. But during the day, it shuts up about paying the bills. So every time my unconscious mind gets crazy, I write it down on my list. I tell it when I'm going to get back to it, and then you must get back to it. But that starts to quieten down all the noise. So you're not just, like you say, on that mouse wheel where you've got all this noise in your head. You can start focusing and have clarity on how you want to move forward.
I love that. And I love brain dumping. I must say I'm a huge advocate for lists. I do lists all the time. I do priorities. I have my big vision. I have my calendar online. I have my A4 diary as well that I like to be able to tick things off. So I have a combination of a few different systems. Now, a lot of people say when you write down on a list somewhere what you're going to do the next day, that's very powerful, because your unconscious mind works on that overnight. What are your thoughts on actually writing down the night before what you want to do for the next day?
Yeah, I'm writing all the time. So here's my little book. Actions. So I carry this little book, and I change up the book style, all the time. And these are my to-do lists. I probably won't be able to see it with the camera, but I'm always writing everything that comes into my mind. I jot it down. I like a paper form because it gives me a kinesthetic feel that, so people have visual, audio, or kinesthetic. Kinesthetic is your feeling. So I can see it, I say it as I write it, and I get the movement of the writing. And so what I do is I write down today, and then when I'm finished at the day, I move it to the next day. So whatever I haven't completed, I actually cross it off and move it to the next day. So you have your list, things are coming up onto the priority. I don't do it in order, but after a few days, you get really sick and tired of writing that same task. And you're like, if I have to write that one more time. And so it just keeps moving forward. I never flick back, Reed. I'm working on today in this moment. And then today, when I'm finished, I move it to tomorrow. So the unconscious mind knows there it is on my to-do list for tomorrow. And in writing what you're saying, Aldwyn, it works on that. Like I might say, yeah, I need to, build, a presentation to speak from stage. And can you work on that overnight? So when I get to it tomorrow, I'll have the content and the ideas of what I want to include in that presentation, and that will bubble it up into my conscious awareness when I'm ready to pull that up. Yeah, absolutely.
I like that rewriting. I was actually watching a YouTube video the other day about how to get organized if you have ADHD, and I know that's just a label, but I was diagnosed ADHD a few years ago. There's a lot of entrepreneurs have this ADHD thing going on, attention. Also can be hyper focused or very distracted, and it mentioned an app that helps you organize things, and in this app you can actually move your to-do list from one day. You can just move the box over, right? However, I don't think that would be as powerful as actually rewriting,
because you get sick of writing it after a couple of days.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to get to that, and it's at the top of the list. And and you might want to cross off other things, but eventually your unconscious mind is at the top of the list. It's going to, I always, the butt around this is, I always trust that I get done today what needs to be done. So I never stress about the order. I trust in my intuition. My unconscious mind will just jump things out and I'll get them done. And I know that they needed to be done today. I may not know the reason behind it or the reason why other things were left. But I know if I didn't get to it, then there was no need for it to be done today. When I get to it and it needs to be done, I will get it done. And I'm not saying work at the end of your, time frame or a deadline, yet I just trust in the process that I'll be doing today what needs to be done. Because I always say, if you get to the end of your to-do list, you're not moving forward. You're actually stuck. Right? Because if there's nothing to do in your day, then you're swirling around in overwhelm or some of the other things we've talked about earlier. I love it when I've got a large to-do list because I know these things, each action I take will keep me moving forward.
Yes. Well, I feel like I've got a never-ending to-do list as well. I think it's a very common thing in entrepreneurial world, and the sky's the limit with how much you can do. However, if you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, then find something that's going to bring you joy and do it, because I don't think we're meant to be monks on a hill meditating 24/7. I don't think that's quite the way to be doing life either. Jacqueline says the power of the subconscious mind. Now, I have heard of the term unconscious and superconscious. So do you distinguish between, so unconscious, subconscious, and superconscious, or is it all the same thing?
Most of the time, how people are using it in the context, it's the same thing. I say the unconscious mind because, you're not consciously thinking about it. Subconscious means that there's a subset. This is how I see it in my head, like a subclause or a subgroup. I see it as a whole, and it's sort of unattached to us, because most of the time, people like yourself and myself, we know what our unconscious mind's doing, but most people walk around every day not even knowing that they have an unconscious mind. So I like it to say unconscious mind. There is a higher power and another level, which is a whole other interview. If you're at that level, you'll know that there's a higher consciousness. But usually the two layers that people understand is a conscious mind and an unconscious mind, and they will call it subconscious mind or the likes.
Yeah, thank you for that. Now, when it comes to moving forward when you're stuck, now, of course, there's many different areas of life. Now, I have, my words for 2025 are flow and transformation. And the different areas of life that I have mapped out in front of me on a little vision board, I've got family, career, finance, spiritual, personal development, friends, fun and recreation, and health. And these are all areas where people can feel stuck, right? So when we feel stuck, we're not just talking about business here, we're talking about life, and there's many different elements of life. So what are some ways that you keep life balanced and you're such a high performer as well? What are some things you do to juggle all that?
Yeah. So I'll answer that question, but I just want to preface that with, I just want to alert everyone to listening, this is my belief. If you're stuck in one area of your life, you're stuck in all areas of your life. It's just at different levels and you may not realize it. Yeah. So because some people come in and go, oh, I'm angry, but I'm only angry at work. I'm not angry anywhere else. But it may be that's where it's emphasized and you can consciously see that more clearly. But when we dig deeper, I can find that there's other anger or frustration in other areas. So when we're looking at let's, get out of being stuck, usually there'll be a stuckness, if that's a word, stuckness in all areas, I suppose. It's just at a different level, yeah? So we have to release that very unconsciously to get you to move forward, because there's a block there that blocks all areas. But to answer your question, how do I keep balanced? I actually don't have, and again, my belief is that there's not a work-life balance. I don't want that in my life, because how can you keep that going if you're thinking about that balancing act? It is my life, as a whole. So I always like to look at things as a wholeness. In my life, as you said, there's categories, and at time, I don't need to balance all of that. At times, some areas will need more of my attention, and then other areas don't need so much of my attention at that time, So sometimes when you're on holidays, your business doesn't need as much attention. So you can focus on your health and well-being or your mindset and the like while you're on holidays. When I was talking about when you go fast and hard or take a breath, when I'm on go fast and hard in my work, that's where my attention is. Not that I do nothing in my health and well-being, but it's not as big a focus. So I'm always shifting to where I want to be in a conscious way. So I do a 90-day plan, and in that 90 days, I know where I need to focus on in those areas. And then the next 90 days, it might be a reset. So, I've been traveling, I've been speaking from stage. So my exercise has been a little bit out of kilt. Not that I don't exercise, but it's not my 100% focus. My 100% focus is, the event planning and the like. So when you let go of this, I've got to have it all balanced and spend the equal amount of time, I think that's setting yourself up to failure, because I don't know anyone that can get that right or does it successfully long term. And you'll always have the guilt, talking about negative emotions. I'm not spending enough time with my children. I'm not spending enough time with my partner. But I like to consciously make sure I'm tapping into those areas at the level I need for the next 90 days. So John and I would have a conversation, and I talk about it hanging on. And you've probably heard me tell this story, Aldwyn, but some of your listeners may not. I always say, if you're falling off the Sydney Harbour Bridge and you grab on and no one sees you, how long would you hold your weight for? Your body weight. Well, for me, not long. Like immediately, I would I don't have that upper body strength, right? But if you fell and someone leaned over and said, I can see you, Sharon, I'm going to get help, I'm going to be back in 11 minutes, you will hold on for 11 minutes because someone's coming back for you. Because I'll be going, hang on, they're nearly here, they're just around the corner, however that conversation goes. So what you do is you look at these areas in your business and your life, and you go, what needs to hang on for this 90 days and what am I going to focus on? So John would do a round the world trip. He would be gone for 6 to 8 weeks. So our relationship hung on. I know he's coming back, but I didn't expect to have date nights, late night phone calls, because he's busy doing whatever. We knew that for 90 days we would hang on. And then the next 90 days, we might go away for a holiday or spend time together, and we would focus more on our relationship. But we could hang on because we knew we were coming back. Yeah. The same with all areas of your business. Our diet plan, our eating plan over Christmas, it hangs on. I always, put a post up going, liver, hang in there, man. It's going to be a rough month, because we're going to be drinking and eating a lot. And, I need you to work harder. So, but, my healthy eating and drinking will come back after, New Year. Hang on, little buddy, And so if you look at all areas of your life like that and just ask it to hang on and then focus on where you need to be, you don't set yourself up for failure. Yeah, I'm going to eat and drink at Christmas. I live, So I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I've got my liver hanging on.
Yes, I love that. That's great. Definitely takes a lot of pressure off when you do that. Foundationally, we take ourselves into all these different areas of life. And this is where I think, health, exercise, etc., is ultra important. And there's times that we detox and then we retox. This tends to happen a lot. I find around winter time I tend to eat more because my body wants that extra. I want to be warm in winter time, so I tend to eat more. And so how important is, with all these different elements, how important has your health, things like exercise, your health in general, even though we go off the scales with our health, exercise, mental health, physical health, and personal development. How important are those three areas, do you think, to impact all the other areas?
Yeah, I think, I wrote, how you can write on your mirror in the bathroom?
Yes.
I had on my bathroom mirror for a long time, if I exercise, everything will happen, because I wanted to believe that. Because I don't love exercising. I'd rather lay in bed, right, with a nice, coffee in the morning and, in that warm, cozy blanket. I always go, I'm not a gym junkie, but I'm there because I know it's important. And one day that's going to pay off. One day you're going to fall, you need to lift yourself up, or you need to lift something heavy. You need to have a bit more stamina to get through something and have more energy. I know that what I'm doing now will pay off in the future. And so, the old cliche of put your oxygen mask on first. But I like, my word, Aldwyn, is discipline. And so, I'm going, well, if I want to be disciplined in every area, disciplined, then I must be disciplined in every area, because my belief is if you're not, then you're not in every area. So I look at every area of my life and I'm like, how am I being disciplined? Because discipline brings motivation. You can't wake up today and go, I'm going to be motivated today. Because again, you'll set yourself up for failure. You can walk around and say, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. You're still not freaking happy. Yeah. So being disciplined brings motivation and happiness and all of those positive things. So exercise and staying well and healthy must in capital letters be a priority for everyone, because as we age, we want to go into old age being as fit and healthy as we can. I know there's things there that people say you can't control, but what did I do to preempt this? I always say, if you don't prepare, you deserve nothing. If you put it in this context, well, I'm preparing to be healthy in my older age, and I need to be doing it now, not when I'm old. Yeah. Personal development is a not negotiable for me. Again, if you're not learning, you're stuck. Our world is changing. Like, figures around AI, and I think I'm underestimating the figures that I was told, but AI a number of years ago took 10 years. Then they did what they did in 10 years in a year. Now they're doing that in a month. Now they're doing it in a week. What took them 10 years before? So we are moving at a fast pace. So we need to be growing ourselves mentally and physically and spiritually and all of those areas. When I talk personal development, it's all of those areas. Learn something new about exercise, learn something new about healthy eating, learn something new about relationships, learn something new about business. There's all, and like, as you know, information is everywhere. You don't have to pay loads of money to learn something new.
Yes, and you either invest your wealth to, or invest your health to get your wealth, as a lot of people do, and invest their wealth to get their health back.
Yeah.
And by then, for many people, it is too late. And this whole thing about retiring one day when you're not in a healthy state, how are you going to travel and do all the things you want to do in retirement? You're not in a healthy state. So I think, it's absolutely crucial. And, talking of how fast things are going, look at with AI and humanoid robots, Elon Musk predicts there's going to be 10 billion humanoid robots by 2030, which is insane. Doing things like doing our dishes and folding our clothes. And some people are having relationships with these humanoid robots. Like and we're seeing it already in Hollywood. We're seeing all of this roll out in Hollywood, in the movies. It's for some people, there's a lot of fear around all of that. Whether we like it or not, this is all going ahead. Yep. And how are you going to be?
Yeah, and people are getting stuck on that. Yes. Yes, there is a lot to be said about AI and technology and moving forward. And you go, well, they're using it for good, they're using it for bad. But we must lean in. We must lean into this technology. And I liken it to when mobile phones came in. I lived in a small country town, and everybody in the town said, oh, if they want to call me, they can wait till I get home, and they can call me overnight. Yet here we are, all with mobile phones. That generation who pushed back are now passing away. But mostly now, there's not too many people on this planet that doesn't have a mobile phone living in a Western world. And so we were pushed into that mobile phone era. And if you didn't, you got stuck. Yeah.
Yes.
And so the same with AI. I'm not saying you need to use all of AI, but if you don't want to get stuck, you must lean in and utilize it where you can, and what's important for you in your business and life at the moment.
Yeah, it will save you so much time with some things. However, my concern with AI is that I feel in some ways it's going to dumb people down. I think people are going to be too reliant on it. And a lot of kids now, they've got no idea about how to add anything up because they've always used calculators. So what would happen when the
calculators? Yeah. That's what they said when calculators came in. It was like, oh, no one's going to add anything up. I still use my calculator on my phone. And yet, I can still do maths. But it's the change that we have to accept. It is going to happen. Yes, are we going to get dumbed down? I would say yes. Can we change that? Possibly not. Unfortunately. Can we stop people using calculators? Back then, we didn't. Can we, Google came out. Oh, now, you weren't using your brain. You were just Googling it. It's all of these steps moving to where we are now, and they've been coming for quite some time. This is not something that happened overnight. AI was back in 1956. It was first penned and talked about in 1956, yet it wasn't until the AI beat the chess player, later on, that we, ordinary people who aren't in that industry started to hear about it, right? But this has been coming. It's been coming for a long time. It's just that if you're not in that industry or haven't been exposed to it, it seems to be a bit shocking, but it's been coming for many years.
Yes, I must say, in the early days of digital photography, I resisted big time. I came from still photography background. I'm like, no, digital's never going to get the same skin tones. And, there was that delay with the early digital cameras. If you remember, you take the shot and it'd be 1 second later and then you miss the actual moment. However, now look at how good digital photography is now. It is mind blowing. I've done front page magazine photos with digital cameras, which I never thought back in the day when we started with the film cameras, when we had the darkroom developing, when everything would take hours to print to get a photo back, and you couldn't look at it at the same time. I mean, it is insane how fast things have gone. So yes, you will stay behind if you don't stay with the times.
Yeah, my only advice is just if everybody uses it for good, just go and use it for good. And then you'll be contributing to that process. If more of us just use it for good, then it'll be used more for good. And so that's my advice to people. Just how you play your part is use it for good.
Yes, love that. One way that I have helped move forward when I've been stuck in the past is chunking down. Now we mentioned, list writing, but chunking down, like, a lot of people I hear, they say, yeah, I really want to get marketing. I really want to get in the media, but I've got to do my website first, got to get my sales page. I've got to do this first, got to do that first. And, a website, I don't know anyone who is happy with their website. I think the website, as an example, your website is going to be something that's going to be,
I'm redoing mine now.
Right. And so how often do people get stuck because they want perfection, or that maybe they're procrastinating for some other reasons? Actually getting conscious to why they are procrastinating around putting themselves out there. And usually there's some kind of fear at the base of it. And now with your hypnotism work is very powerful. I loved your 3-day hypnosis workshop. And it's phenomenal how many people have fear at the heart of what they do, where they do feel stuck. There's some kind of fear there. What was it that drew you to being interested in hypnotism, and how powerful is it for those that don't know much about it?
Yeah, exactly. The reason I got into hypnosis was because people were stuck. So I was coaching people on one-on-one coaching and in group coaching. I'd give them all the marketing plans, all the strategies, and they still wouldn't go and get it done. And then I became this browbeating, stick-wielding coach. I didn't want to be called an accountability coach, and I didn't want to get onto a call every second week and go, have you done it? No, and then start browbeating. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way to get them to move forward. What is holding them back? What is not, why didn't they just go and do it? Looking outside in, it's easy for me to go, why didn't you go and do it? Then I realized there was more. And then I started looking for ways I could help my coaches move forward. And I came across hypnosis. I knew people who had utilized the tool. I went and learned it for myself so I could help my coaches. But I became so passionate about it. I did all the training to become accredited with the International Board, Hypnosis Board in the US, and become, a master trainer. So now I can teach other people how to do hypnosis and be able to help their clients. And even though it's not a lot of business coaches, or the marketers are going, oh, this is like not really in your brand. Yet I love doing it. I love sharing it because I think it's a very powerful tool. Because what's keeping us stuck is usually at an unconscious level, I find. And if you go, oh, I'm not disciplined, I didn't go and do it, I'm procrastinating. Procrastinating is just the word for stuck, because you're just thinking about it all the time, but you don't know how to move forward. So hypnosis is a really easy way in a session to just easily release it, and then you, at an unconscious level, just start doing. So to give you an example, I had a lady who she's a coach, has large clients, large 6-figure clients. She would do proposals for them. They would say, go and meet with them. They'd go, yes, send us over the documents to sign. She wouldn't send them. And like, we're talking 6-figure clients. And she said, I just sit and look at my computer and I procrastinate and I get on and do anything but that. Now, this is not a learned behavior. This is not a conscious reaction. People go, give me your clients. I'll send them, because they've said yes already. She's got the yes. All they need to do is sign. And so, one session with me, she went back like a powerhouse, sent 6 proposals out, and got the work, and they were all 6-figure clients that she did for those 6. And once you release that internal blockage, she just went and did it that day. She didn't think about it. She just left I actually saw her in person, which I hardly ever do. She left my office, and away she went and just did it without thinking or going, oh, I must do it. It wasn't hard. It didn't cause her any angst. She just did it. And so utilizing hypnosis just makes it easy. If you're feeling like it's tough going, like, and that's how I explain it. It's like it's tough going, then that's an internal block. That's what's keeping you stuck, something internal. You don't have to know what it is, yeah? Because people try and work it out. What's keeping me stuck? But you touched on fear. Now, fear, people will be fearful of two things: fear of success and fear of failure. Now, a lot of people think it's fear of failure, but a lot of people are fearful of success. And so I work with people to release that fear of success. And I'm finding it's more and more the fear of success than it is of failure. Yep. What if it does work out? What if I do get 100 clients? What happens if I do earn a shitload of money? Like, and what do I do then? And so that's a fear of success that really needs to be unblocked for you to move forward.
Yes, I think particularly in Australia where it's all about rise to the middle.
Yes. That's what I mean. Go and buy the sports car. Go and buy the diamond ring. Because in Australia, you get boo-hooed for that.
Yes. Someone sees you in a Ferrari and they think you're a drug dealer or a prostitute.
Exactly. Or who did they tread on? Or who did they rip off? People say those things. Yeah.
Yes, fascinating. And then, this idea that it's lonely at the top, all these things can definitely have people feeling like they don't want to be successful because they're going to stand out. They're going to be all alone. There's this big fear of being alone.
People get that crap from their own family, right? Their own family will dog them and say, oh, now that you're earning all this money, I was going to say something then. Am I allowed to swear? Oh, I go, shit, don't stink. Like you walk around with your nose in the air. Here's the Aussie coming out in me.
Yeah.
That's what people say.
Yes.
Right? Your own family and friends, talk about you behind your back because you're earning more money. And then people pull themselves back to be in the norm, to be accepted by people. They think you're accepted by people, whatever money you earn. Yeah. Yeah. So those beliefs will get you stuck, really stuck. Or you go forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. Anyway, yeah.
Yes, your foot on the accelerator and the brake at the same time, you often say, which I love that picture of that. And for some people, some of these things will be at a conscious level and some will be at an unconscious level. Because, there's programs out there that say, up until the age of 7, something happens. Well, in Landmark, for example, they say, something happens, you make it mean something. Something happens, you make it mean something. We keep attracting the same kinds of stuff into our life, depending on what our conscious beliefs are that might be unconscious from a young age. However, with hypnosis, it goes deeper than that, doesn't it?
Yeah, so why they say 0 to 7 is because children at that age just sponge, they take on all of your values, all of your beliefs. They take on, like as a parent, as, someone in authority, from church, school, sports. So they'll take on all of those beliefs. But with hypnosis and timeline therapy, we actually go back. Timeline therapy is going back in your timeline to past lives and generational hand down. Because sometimes the generational hand down can be obvious, People go, oh, my mum was big bone, so I'm big boned, and I'm, and my kids are big boned, which is not my belief. But people are aware of that generational hand down. And so just because your parents said so, then you believe it so, and then you believe. And we do things that are at such an unconscious level from generational hand down is unbelievable. So the example I use is, a girl was cooking a roast and she cut the two ends off the roast, put it in the pot, in a pan, and to put it in the oven. And her new boyfriend said, why do you cut the ends off? And she goes, I don't know. That's what my mum does. And so he was curious and he said, Mom, why do you cut the ends off? She goes, I'm not sure. That's what my mum does. You just cut the ends off. Then he went to the grandmother, who was, thankfully alive, and said, it wouldn't fit in the pan. My pan was too small and I cut the ends off, right? So to fit it in the pan. But the daughter and the granddaughter took this on as an unconscious behavior and didn't question why they were doing it. And that's a very simplistic example of how we hand down things and we never question why we do it. And if you think about your life and your generational hand down, you will see things that you just do that you don't know why. And so it's so unconscious. So we look at that and we go, right, If this was causing you a problem, cutting the ends off your rose, then we would go back and release that at the very root cause back in those generations. Because we don't know how far it goes. Sometimes you don't have to know. And the one thing about timeline therapy and hypnosis is that it's content free. You don't have to live through any trauma, drama, emotion. We just go back and release it at a very high level, so you don't have to relive any trauma. Because some people go, I don't want to go back and remember the trauma to release it. That's psychology. A psychiatrist, get you to, go back into trauma. With hypnosis, we do not have any emotional effect to release these things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And
I love. No one wants to go back and be sad about something. Yeah.
Yes. And I've heard extraordinary results around, stopping smoking or losing weight, or there's lots of different ways that you could use hypnosis. And, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, some people come for, that business, they get to six figures and they can't get to 7 figures, and they don't know why. And it's, again, being stuck. They don't know why they can't get to 7 figures. They might get close and then just don't quite get there each financial year or the like. And so we go back to those past lives, generational hand down, and see what's coming up for them and allow them to move forward in that way. Sometimes people just go, I don't know what it is, but I just feel stuck. I don't know. That's okay too, because you don't need to know. You just need to, like I said, that pause and reflect and go, yeah, this is where I'm at.
I find it fascinating. I've heard that we have 14 generations of DNA in us from our heritage. Now, some people say it might be more than that. I mean, who knows? I know personally, like I know my ancestors are supporting me with what I do. I've had, my great-grandparents were killed in Ukraine as kulaks, as the rich landowners, by Stalin's men because they had land. And when they turned to communists, they killed off all the elite class or the wealthy class, and they got hung out the front of their house. And then their son was my granddad, my dad's dad. He actually then started to speak up against the government, and then his friends said, you better get out of here now, they're coming to kill you as well. So I've had in my generation, the generations that I know of, the last few generations, people that were killed for stepping up and running for their life, for speaking up. And that's exactly what I help people do, is step up and speak up. And I know my ancestors are supporting me, right? So it's interesting that I know at least those generations. However, really, who knows what happened before those generations, and the whole, ancestry that we have. It's extraordinary. We are incredibly powerful as well. Our humanness, maybe not so much, but I do believe we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and it's tapping into that spirituality, I think, is where the real power is.
Yeah. We are much more than our bodies. Yeah. And so when you can tap into it, it's infinite, it's endless, on what you can achieve and do and believe, and acquire and the outcomes you want. I always say, and this came up for me this week, someone said to me, so as soon as someone asks me a question, they go, oh, is it possible? I cut them off there, because if you're asking, is it possible, then the answer is yes. So if you're sitting there going, oh, is it possible for me to do this? The answer is yes, because if there's a possibility, then it is. It may not have been done before, but it is possible. So I always err on that. If anyone says to me, is it possible? I cut them off and I'm like, yes, because that means it is. Yeah.
Yes, anything is possible, or I'm possible, of course, was a famous line. I'm possible, from back in the day. The impossible says I'm possible. So there's nothing. Anything is possible, and this is where I think it's so important to do the inner work and to seek help, because we are often too close to what we do to see what's going on with us, to see where we're stuck, working with experts. Now, for yourself, with your, you've been very successful in business, very successful in life. What are some of the other keys to your success, you would say?
I always say there's 2 things. Being consistent. Being consistent by turning up every day, being my true self, being true to my values and my beliefs, being consistent in my behaviors, like my external behaviors, how I treat people, being consistent in my boundaries on how people treat me. So there's all areas of being consistent, and standing true. I call it holding my poise, so some people say I have a strong backbone. It's, I'm consistent in all areas of my life, but particularly in my own thoughts and my own beliefs and my own values and my rules around my beliefs. The second one is be persistent. So, if I want to work with somebody, or I want to meet somebody, or I want to collaborate with somebody, or I want to hire somebody, I'm persistent in finding that right person. And if, sometimes you can name them. You might go, oh, I want to collaborate with Aldwyn, and I'll be persistent with Aldwyn to get that outcome. Or it might be, I've got to find this person. I don't know their name, but I've got to find this person who I, need to collaborate with or work with. So the persistent is different to being consistent. The persistent is not letting go of the outcome. I don't care how I get there, but I'm being persistent about what I want to achieve, and then working out a way to get there. So once you get those two things, then everything else falls into place. And then that's what creates success. And we've got to remember that success is a journey, not an outcome. Oh, when I'm successful, I'll do this. When I get this, I'll do this. No, it's about, am I successful today? Did I successfully change somebody's life? Did I successfully, complete the tasks that I needed to complete? Did I successfully, do my training, eat well? So I look at it as a journey, because we can be successful right now. And what people don't sort of skip over a bit is the gratitude around that, Aldwyn. I'm a big gratitude fan. I'm grateful for what I have now and I want to achieve. Yeah. So some people think it's an or. So I'll be grateful when I've got $1 million in the bank. Well, I'm grateful for my $100 in the bank and I want to achieve $1 million. Yeah. So people go, oh, I'll be grateful when I own my own home, or, I'll be happy, successful, whatever the word is for you. But you must be grateful now, in the present moment. I'm grateful for the car I own. I'm grateful for the clothes on my back. I'm grateful for the roof over my head. And I want a new car or a new home, or it doesn't matter what it is, but you can be grateful and want more. And you can have that. But people think it's an or. I want or.
Yes. And that's where, some people say, I'm so happy and grateful now that I have, or now that I'm doing, so happy and grateful. It's like some people think you can't be wealthy and happy. You're either going to be, some people say, I'm not wealthy, but I'm happy, but you can be wealthy and happy, right? You can be wealthy and
yes. Well, if you're a happy person, you're going to be happy whether you're broke or wealthy. Yeah. If you're an ass, you're going to be a bigger ass when you get bigger money.
Yes.
Simple as that. So it's looking, I measure success around my own values and beliefs. Yeah. That's where I measure success. I don't measure it in, wealth or materialistic things. I measure it in how I'm turning up every day. Am I successfully doing and staying true to myself every day? That's successful for me. That's success. Yeah.
Yes, it's so interesting that and money is something where a lot of people feel stuck. How many arguments are there over money, over wealth creation?
In relationships. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And so, and again, it's, what's your measurement of success, around money? What's your measurement of money? Because some people go, well, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. If someone had $1,000 in the bank, they'd go, I'm rich. And another person would have $1,000 in the bank and go, I'm poor, right? So we all have a different measurement. And in relationships, you've got to get clear on that measurement. I do it particularly in partnerships, in business and in life. Because we have values and we have beliefs, but what are the rules around that? So there's a difference. Not a lot of people chunk down to the rules. So two people might get into business and go, I want to work hard. Now, working hard for one might be 10 hours a week. Another working hard might be 100 hours a week. And now we have this misalignment. And it's the same with money. In relationships and in business, where are we aligned? What is our success or our measurement of money to be comfortable and make sure we're on the same page? Because if you're not, that's when you're going to argue. And so because they won't have, one partner will, won't have 10, you might have 10,000 in the bank, and one person's stressing about that because that's all we have. And the other person goes, that's plenty. That'll do us for a lifetime. So we need to get to the rules underneath our beliefs.
And values. Dr. Demartini talks about values. You put other people's values up higher than yours. You're putting others on pedestals. Well, that's his belief, right? Around the Demartini method, all about what are your values and where are they aligned. Yeah, very.
I believe there's 3 layers. There's values, beliefs, and rules. Yeah. So, to give you an example, John, I felt we have a high value of love, right? So in our relationship, we felt very loved. But our rules and our belief was that we loved each other. But our rules around that of having each other feel loved was different. So, I used to, the story I share is, I'd come home, at the airport, I would get a car, a driver to drive me to home. John would have cooked a baked meal for me. It was there waiting and be like, ta-da. I didn't feel loved, right? Because my rule was come pick me up and we can spend some quality time and chat as we drove home. I didn't care if we got takeaway, right? It was about, having those conversations around, how my week was or how his week was and the like. And so we had a misalignment around our rules of feeling loved. And so when we learned this, we had this discussion. I said, well, I'll feel loved if you come pick me up. Yeah. And so the first time he came pick me up, it was like he turned up and he's like, oh, the traffic was bad and I was mowing the lawn and I had to stop and, drama. I'm like, no, still not feeling loved. So the next time I said, like, can't be negative, can't tell me all the drama, just come pick me up. And he'd come pick me up going, all positive here, all positive here. Like, oh, okay. A lot of people go, oh, that's love languages. It's not love languages. It's your belief under each one. What's your belief around family? Like, I'll give you an example with my 2 sisters. One calls me a lot, the other doesn't. But if I had a rule that to be a good sister or a sibling, you have to call every day, then I wouldn't have a relationship with that other sister because she doesn't call me every day, right? So, but her belief is you call when something, is going down. She'll call up and go, what's wrong? So I understand what their beliefs are under a high value of family. Yeah. So I'm very close to my family. It's a high value for us, but the beliefs underneath it are different. Yeah. And once you accept people's different beliefs, then you won't have the relationship arguments over money and the like. Yeah. Or who calls who each day.
That's interesting. It's like, I would have thought of that as the 5 love languages, which someone created, right?
Yes. And they're very important, but we don't want to confuse it on what I'm talking about today. Yeah.
Yes, because we'll have our own perception. Even if we like quality time, well, how much quality time? Some people in a relationship want to spend 5 days a week together, and some people are happy with 1 day a week.
Yeah. My parents spend 24/7 together, very rarely apart. They would do my head in. But under their relationship of beliefs, they're on the same page. They love it. Yeah. So you've got to dig down to that extra layer of what are the beliefs under that. So the same with, parental. I use this a lot in my coaching, when a child is having some issues with their father or mother. I'm like, well, what are your beliefs on a good father? Right? What are your beliefs around that? His beliefs may be different. Got a high value of the relationship, but the beliefs underneath that may be different. My belief for a good father, he should call me on my birthday and Christmas. That's your belief under that value. It may not be his. Yeah? And so you've got to look out for those beliefs.
And that comes down then to communication. And so let's talk about communication, where people get stuck with communication. And I know a lot of people nowadays, they're texting, they're keyboard warriors or phone warriors. They text a message to someone not intending to harm anyone or hurt anyone, and it can be taken completely in a different way than they intended, and relationships can end over one text message. So How
Hand up
important?
who's been there.
Yes, exactly.
We have
Yes.
all done that. We have all done this, yeah. And yeah, I absolutely believe in take your time, write the email, sit on it overnight. So many times I've wrote out the text or the email. I always put it in my notes. I never put it where it could easily get sent. If I'm designing an email, I never have their address up the top. I always get rid of that so it can't be sent anywhere.
Yes.
Probably 90% of my communication, I backspace,
Yeah.
right? Because, and it's not only, like you say, it's not always that you're in anger, but you need to get, set your boundaries or get quite a clear message across. And you want the right message to get across, yeah? You don't want anyone taking it the wrong way. I say pick up the phone, have the conversation. I said to one of my staff today, I was away and speaking overseas just recently. I sent her an email and I'm like, this doesn't sound what I'm asking for. It sounds like I'm micromanaging her. I just want some information. I left it. I came back and I said, look, I didn't ask you while I was away. I'm having this face-to-face conversation because every time I wrote it, it was like, it just didn't, it sounded like she was going to take it the wrong way. And so I left it until I could chat to her. She's going, yeah, I'm glad you chatted to me because it's a bit complex. So wherever you can pick up the phone, yeah. And also if it's difficult conversations, because, you get stuck in having a difficult conversation, think about it, process it, meditate on it, do hypnosis around it, journal on it if you journal. And then, because once you've got it, I always run through the movie. So I run through the movie with my unconscious mind going, this is how I want it to go, therefore it will, in a positive way. We're not going to have an argument. I want it to, be a smooth transition in a difficult conversation. But the most important thing is to have it. Because when you have the difficult conversation, most of the time it wasn't as difficult as you thought. You're like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Yeah. So have the difficult conversation as quickly as possible. Once you have it clear in your mind and your unconscious mind knows the outcome, then it will realize that outcome for you.
Yes, and I think with some things, knowing when to let go of some things as well. It's interesting.
Yeah. We don't always have to have the difficult conversation.
No.
We can just, is it my, in my book I talk about worry and concern. Is it just a worry that something's going to happen in the future? Do I need to be involved in that, or is it concern right for me and I really need to take action on that? So if it's a worry, you don't need to act on it until it becomes a concern, in those types of conversations and environments. Yeah.
And I say, letting go of some things, because, I've had over the years, I've had in my 23 years in business, I've had a lot of people who have owed money. And I must say I've been a little bit slack in sometimes, sending invoices or following up with invoices, or I've been like, oh yeah, pay me when you can or whatever, right? And then of course that's exactly what I've attracted people, and people just drag it right out. And then, you may not get paid for sometimes, months, years, and then eventually it gets to the point, well, is it even worth worrying about, right? So with things like that in business,
well, there's a couple of things there. It's about holding your boundaries and what's important to me, what's my value around this, and being true to yourself. And yes, going, look, there's always times when there is the possibility of an argument, and you go, is that serving me well? The time, the effort, the energy, the defocus of having that argument, is that going to change the outcome? No. Or is it worth the outcome? Yeah. Because some people go, oh, I want an apology. Well, and then they spend so much energy trying to get an apology out of somebody, and it's never going to come. Yeah. If the person wants to apologize, they will. No amount of you making a noise. And even if they say, oh, I'm sorry, it's not going to be heartfelt anyway. So is it going to change the outcome of your relationship or moving forward? Let it go. Yeah.
Yes.
Deal with it in your own self. Yeah. Because what I believe in is what you see in others is your own. Yeah. So when I see things in people that I don't like, I go and work on that myself. Yeah. So, and people challenge me on this all the time. So like, if you see someone who's being bitchy, where in your life are you being bitchy? And they go, I'm not a bitch. I'm like,
Yeah.
somewhere there is. You are. You know, you're like little bit. It might not be big bit, but you're being a little bit. So, you know, be true to yourself. You know, I see people who are being slack or lazy. You know, like, well, where am I being lazy? Or people don't call me back. Well, where am I not calling people back? You know, and so I look at, you know, that mirror reflection, you know, because what you see in others is a true reflection of yourself. And so I go and work on myself, and that will change others. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So good. Yes, the things we don't want to see in ourselves. It's so cool to say we point the finger and 3 fingers are pointing back at us. It puts you in a real place of power when you can take 100% responsibility for everything in your life. And you realize that people are mirrors of you, and what you're pointing out in them, as you say, there's some part of you. So, for example, with one of my team members the other day, I was getting very frustrated that tasks were not done 100%, that maybe tasks were done 90%. So, for example, she'd be filling out a spreadsheet and like, well, there's a gap there. How come there's a gap there? How come there's a gap there? And then I looked in my life and I thought, well, I've got this never ending thing to do is all these incomplete projects. And I thought, okay, I'm going to work.
I get it. I get it.
You know, I had a straight conversation, you know, with her at our team meeting. And I said, look, I am just raising you to a higher standard, and I'm raising me to a higher standard. Right. And it's like, you know, there's some great work that you do. There's some great work I do. And we're certainly not perfect. Or maybe we are perfect in our imperfections. That maybe that's just a belief. But yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you say there, as much as we may not want to believe it.
I always ask myself, how can I do better? If I'm not happy with one of my team members, how can I be a better leader? How can I be a better inspiration? How can I show them a better way? So it's about my behavior, not theirs. You know, I'm always, well, how can I be better to, like you say, bring them to a higher standard and make them better? And you know, as a leader, as a communicator, you know, as a friend sometimes in some environments. So, you know, I've got friends around me who are amazing friends, you know, and others who are really slack, you know. And so I'm like, just because they're slack, I don't turn them away. I'm like, how can I be a better friend? So they'll be a better friend, because I know with my friends, I'm like, oh, they're such a good friend. I want to be like them, you know, whatever I'm measuring on for that particular person. But so, you know, it's about lifting other people up as you lift yourself up.
Yeah, I heard the line, are you a leader worth following? I love that line. Are you a leader worth following? Are you a friend worth hanging out with? Are you a lover worth being with, or partner worth being, you know, like, are you showing up how you want others to be? And that's where they say, you know, if you want a great relationship and you want someone who's, you know, really fit and, you know, and really great positive mindset, well, are you fit and do you have a great positive mindset? Are you going to attract that kind of ideal person into your life, or are you going to be happily single like I've been for quite some time now? We won't go there, but you know, you know, I am actually happy within my own space, and for many years I felt that I needed to be in a relationship, which is and a lot of people can feel very stuck over that, because I have heard that 95% of your happiness or misery comes from who you choose as your life partner, as your main partner that you hang out with. So very getting conscious to who you're hanging out with. Are they lifting your energy up, or are they bringing your energy down, or are you choosing to live in drama?
Yeah. And I agree. Like, you know, it's about, you know, one of the things about getting unstuck is changing your environment. Who are you hanging around with? Where are you living? What are you driving? You know, if you don't like where you're living, move house. You know, people go like, I can't move house. You know, how can I? Well, you can. You know, it's just finding the way and being resourceful, because we're all resourceful. We have it within ourselves. We know how to lose weight. Exercise more, eat lettuce. Like anyone will lose weight, right? And you know, we know how to get fit. We know how to eat healthy. We know how. We have all the resources of the know-how. We just got to dig deeper to find them, you know. And that's that chunking down we mentioned earlier. Chunking down to what's the first step. We were talking about this yesterday with somebody. They want to move house, right? First thing I said, go and get the boxes from Bunnings. Get a click and collect. You know, get the tape. You know, that's all you have to worry about for now. You don't have to worry about selling your home, you know, doing all of the big stuff. Just do little steps. Chunk it down. So each day you've done one thing towards moving house, one thing towards selling your car, or one thing towards a new career. You don't have to do 101 things. Just do one a day. And then you just keep moving forward. That gets you unstuck. But change your environment. Change your environment where you spend your time. Change the environment where you exercise. Change your friends. Friends will come and go. Stop hanging on to those warm blankets you think are friends who are not. You can be friendly to them, but they don't have to be your inner circle. Your inner circle, like for me, my inner circle is very important to me, that I protect that. I don't know whether that's the right word, but protect that. I don't let anyone in that is negative. I don't let anyone into that. So I have people around me who are negative, yeah, but they're like a dartboard. They're on those outer sequences. That inner circle, I choose wisely. I choose very wisely on they say the top 5 people, those people who are in my inner circle, I choose very wisely.
Yes, I think it's so important. Now, let's talk about morning routines. Now, I know you get up very early, and I must say, I've kind of thought I'm not a morning person. However, whenever I have got up at sort of 5 a.m. and seen the sunrise, I'm like, wow, this is so cool. I've had so much done before it's even 8 or 9 o'clock. So have you always been sort of a morning person, would you say?
Yeah, and that's my belief. You either believe you are or you believe you're not. So you can change that belief. Yeah. So once you believe you're a morning person, I always blame my dad. He was a dairy farmer, used to take me down to the dairy at 4 a.m. So my family get up at 4 a.m. When I'm staying at mum and dad's, when I get up at 4 a.m., they've already got the coffee before I get out. So, and it's that environment, generational hand down, that environment I was in when I was a younger child. That was our routine, that we got up early to go to the dairy. And that was from, when I was younger than 2. So I was led to believe by people, of authority, that I'm a morning person. That's what we did. Yeah. You can change it. I've got a friend who's changing it at the moment. She said, Sharon, I want to be a morning person. I'm sick of being a night person. And so she set the alarm. So I gave her some strategies. And this is just a friend of mine. We're having a good giggle about it because she texts me every morning because I'm awake, and she knows that I'm the only friend that is at 4 a.m. going, I'm awake. I'm a morning person. So she had to set the alarm. Was she tired? Yes, she was. But that makes you go to bed earlier. She goes, I can't make it through the afternoon. I'm like, but after a few days, we know that between 21 and 28 days, it's arguable that you'll change your habit. Being a morning person is a habit. Yep. It's not an unconscious behavior. It's a learned behavior. Yeah. I don't have an alarm. I just wake up because it was a learned behavior. So if you want to change it, you can. My sister now says, why don't you get up a bit later? I get up at 5 now, have a sleep in. I'm like, but I don't want to, because that serves me well. I like being a morning person. So if it serves you well, don't change. But if you go, I want to change, it's a learned behavior. So my morning routine is very solid because all of the people I know, I'm inspired by, I aspire to be like, who are successful in my measurements, in my world, all with capital letters, have a ritual morning routine. Yeah. So it's habitual. So you get into a ritual of what you do. And so I follow those people because that's what I want to be like, right? So 4 a.m., I'm awake without an alarm, sometimes 3:30. 4 a.m., I'm awake. And then I do a full solid morning routine. I get up and exercise because my belief is if I don't exercise in the morning, it doesn't get done, right? And that's untrue, we know, but it serves me well. I get up and exercise, and whether I'm going to the gym or doing it at home or the like. Now, sometimes it's dark, so I can't get out and do a long walk, so that comes a little bit later. I come home and, I do gratitude journal. So I don't journal as such that people call it. I write down what I'm grateful for. So it's my gratitude list. What am I grateful for that happened yesterday? And what am I grateful for that's about to happen today? I draw oracle cards. I do hypnosis. So this is all my mind now. So I've done the body. Now I'm doing the mindset. And so I do those types of things for the like. I believe in God, so I do prayer as well. And I have a book that I read that gives me Bible readings, so I do that as well. Have breakfast, then I get on with my day, and so I feel like my body and my mind and my spirituality, my spirit is ready to take on the day. And I'm really clear on what I'm going to achieve and what that's going to look like through my hypnosis and meditation. And then the day can be a shit show if it is, right? Because I know, and we talked about this on one of my posts just recently. I make my bed. Right? I always make my bed. If I don't make my bed, I am out of whack. My mum used to say to me, and she still does, if you make your bed and you do your dishes, half your housework's done. So I always make my bed, and then I know that half my housework's done. And and so then the craziness starts because people wake up, and I've got 9 companies, so there's people coming at me. I have an ideal day, and everyone knows what I do in my ideal week and over those days. And I stick to that most times. But, life's life. And so you can have a shit show. And so, but I get up the next day and I know that starting by a good routine sets me up for the day. People get emails from me at 4 a.m. They don't get them at 4 p.m., because I'm clocked off in the afternoon. I'm very sacred with that time. I have my phone. My phone's always on silent because I'm not run by my phone, but it goes into focus mode. I've got it set up. If I turn up to home, it goes into, a download mode. And then from 4 p.m., I'm in what they call on the iPhone, the focus mode. And I don't get any notifications. I don't have any distractions. And that's a sacred time for me in the evening because I'm tired. My day's done. I want to relax and wind down and get off technology and get ready for good sleep. And when my head hits that pillow, I'm asleep. And I sleep solidly for 8 hours, and I wake up refreshed and do the same again.
Amazing. So 4 a.m. to 4 p.m., that's a 12-hour day. That's a big day. And then 8 hours of sleep. So you get to bed by about 8 p.m., roughly?
Yeah.
Amazing. That's extraordinary. Yep. It's interesting because I have a girlfriend, Lynn Santa, actually, who generally is like you. She gets up very early in the morning, and I'm usually up late, like into the early morning. And so often we'll message each other, and she'll say, "No, you just waking up, or are you going to sleep?" And usually for me, it's I'm going to sleep, and
right.
she's just waking up. She deals with in America, etc. However, I am aware also that can be changed. However, I sort of go with the energy of how I'm feeling. Like last night, I was up till 1 a.m. My plan was this morning to have 4.5 hours sleep and go to the gym and do yoga. However, I completely slept through my alarm. Clearly, yoga wasn't meant to happen, interestingly. So I love the fact that you trust your body clock too. I think that's really fantastic. And sometimes I've set my alarm for, say, 6 a.m. and I'll wake up at 5:59 or like right before. So it's interesting how powerful the subconscious.
You tell your unconscious mind when you want to wake up. You'll tell your unconscious mind when you want to wake up. And it'll wake you up at that time. So if you go to bed saying, I want to wake up at 4, then you wake up at 4. So I've just come back from overseas and it was a time difference. So I just said to my unconscious mind, just let me sleep, longer than 4 o'clock that I need. And, I use words that, I'll sleep soundly until I'm refreshed. And I was sleeping till 6, for a couple of days. I'd wake up going, oh my God, I've slept in. But I knew that my body needed that. And I trusted that the unconscious mind would wake me up. 2 days later, I'm awake at 4 o'clock again because I'm ready, refreshed, from the travel and the big week I had. I trust in that.
I love that. And we're talking about how to move forward when you're stuck. So trust is a massive one. And, a lot of people have major trust issues. I mean, we know we've been lied to by government, by the media, let's just go on and on. However, we're going to be the victim about what's going on in the world that we can't control, where we've lost trust in others. And for a lot of people, they've lost trust in themselves. So let's talk about trust for a moment and how can people increase their trust in themselves or others?
This is what I do, and it served me well. I trust until someone gives me a reason not to. Because I didn't want to live in fear. I didn't want to live in the lack of. Because I felt that was negative energy. So whenever I meet someone new, I don't care what someone has told me, and I tend not to listen anyway. I trust that person until they give me a reason not to. And I trust in my intuition. Some people have done nothing, and I know for a fact they're not good for me. They're not serving me well. And I don't know why, but I trust in that intuition, because my unconscious mind, its prime directive is one of its prime directives is to protect me. And so sometimes we'll get the messages, the symbols, the gut feel, whatever it is for you, a tingling, a heating in the chest, in the gut, all over, telling you to protect yourself. And I trust in that. So there was a gentleman that came into the office once. He wanted to do some collaboration with John and I. John's got this great idea. He had a great product. It suited us well. It was a dream deal. But every time I walked into that room, I would have this overwhelming, and I say, of all the people I've met, this was the most overwhelming kinesthetic feel of something not being right. And he did nothing but be nice and polite and the like. Everything was perfect. And I just said to John, no, we're not doing it. And I had no rhyme and reason, except every time I stepped into that room, I felt this feeling was a negative feeling. I can't even describe how I felt. And luckily, John always, we worked together and said, well, if you're not feeling it, we're not feeling it. And we didn't. And then a few months later, we found out all of this really negative stuff that we would have got caught up in business with him that wasn't going to serve us well. And so when it comes to trust, we know. We just got to trust in that. So trust in ourselves before we trust others. Yeah.
Yes, it's a big one. And, a lot of people I know in business have been ripped off at different times in their life because they've taken more chances and they've, and sometimes, running around doing a million things, sometimes we forget to center ourselves and actually trust our intuition. And I think yes, I think I've certainly been there as well. I've had major trust issues, and it's interesting to just notice. And the more inner work I've done, the more I've practiced faith. I'm a big believer in faith as well. I find that has really helped strengthen that intuition and that self-trust, knowing that we're never alone. Actually, when you have faith, you're never alone, and learning to trust that. And I think that sometimes can be, it's probably there instinctively in all of us. However, I think with all the mental clutter and all the noise out there, I think we've become detached from that.
And I think that's that, that in my morning routine, I'm just very quiet, very centered. And I'll look for the symbols, because the unconscious mind is symbolic. It doesn't give you clear messages. You've got to look for the symbols. And so I look for the symbol messages, and go, yeah, I get you. I get what's going on, and I'm going to act on that. And I trust that the messages I'm getting is what's serving me well. But you, like you said, when you have to be quiet and centered, the busyness, you're not going to get the answers. You're looking externally for those answers. You can't look external. You need to look internal for those answers.
Yes, and I love how you mentioned discipline. My dad's a civil engineer, and he always said, you've got to be disciplined and organized, Aldwyn. And I always thought they were two dirty words. And so what my dad said for a long time, I rebelled. I did the exact opposite, and it cost me dearly. It cost me, so much over the years. It cost me time. It cost me money. It cost me clients. It cost me not being organized and disciplined and actually I was organized and disciplined in some areas of my life that I wanted to be, but other areas I was completely chaotic. And, it's kind of like an ongoing, practice. Being organized and disciplined. And I realize now the value of what he was saying. Now, for organization and discipline, has that been something that has come naturally for you, or has it been a learned thing?
No, learned. Absolutely learned. Yes, there's some generational hand down. My parents are very organized. You should see my dad's, garage. It's very organized. So there's some generational hand down for me, not for everyone, but learned behavior, because I could have rejected that or accepted it. So for me, it's a learned behavior. And I've taught many people in my coaching, coaching them this learned behavior. And it's about being consistent again, because consistent brings discipline. So being organized, I think that clearing the clutter, because if you've got a cluttered mind, you've got a cluttered desk, you've got a cluttered wardrobe, you've got a cluttered, car, whatever it is. So start uncluttering and your mind starts uncluttering. Yeah. And so like I said, if it's in one area, it's going to be in all areas of your life. So the thing is to start, not get overwhelmed with it, because that's when you get stuck and you go, I can't unclutter my whole world, Okay, take the first step. Do one thing. I said to someone this week, you get a shopping bag, and each time you go to the garbage, you have something in the bag, and so you take it out. Garbage was near the car, so I said every time you go to the car, take a bag of stuff that's going to the bin, because when you start to unclutter, usually there's a whole heap to go to the bin, not necessarily to charity, right? So if you just did one bag a day, you've got to make a difference, yeah. And so where we think, oh my God, I've got to pull everything out in my kitchen. No, just take a shopping bag full of crap to the bin. And then you feel momentum. It'll get easier for you to let go. Because when you're stuck, I always say, if you want something to come into your life, you have to let go of something. So what are you going to let go of to get? So for instance, if you're earning 6 figures, you've got to let go of 6 figures to get 7 figures. Because if you're hanging on to the 6 figures and then the lack of, then you won't achieve the 7 figures. If you want to eat well, then you've got to let go of not the belief you don't eat well, or have distractions, or whatever you're saying to yourself. Oh, it's all the dinners. Then to allow the other to come in. Yeah. So even when people, it's the law of attraction. When people want a new partner in their life, make room in the wardrobe. Make room in the. Where's he going to park? Or he or she. Like, where is there space in your home for that person to come in? Yeah. So you want to show your unconscious mind what you want to bring in, but you must let something go. If you want to be worthy, then you have to let go of being unworthy. If you want to be success, you've got to let go of unsuccessful. Yeah. So what is it that I need to let go of to move forward?
Yes, I love that. Inch by inch, everything's a cinch is one of my favorite sayings. Inch by inch, everything's a cinch. And letting go. Oh my gosh, that's a huge one. Letting go. And this is why I probably won't have a relationship for a while, because I've got a lot to let go of. I've lived in my house for 23 years, and I've been a bit of a shopaholic over the years. I've had a bit of an addictive personality as well over the years, and I'm very aware of it. However, I have been little by little, inch by inch, little by little, doing, like, even if it's an hour of sorting, on a weekend, or an hour of, I just work on one box, just declutter one box. And I know it's I really admire people who are minimalists, or who've maybe become minimalists. However, I would say I've probably been a maximalist, and my life, and I have abundance. I have abundance of everything. However, I am aware that can keep you very stuck. Definitely.
Yeah. I'm very minimalist. Each time I move house, I get more minimal.
Yes.
Because it's a gradual process. You can't go from having everything to minimalistic. It's a gradual process. I've just moved recently from a 5-bedroom, 3 living, 2 balconies, triple garage, to a 2-bedroom, 1 living, right? Because I'm on my own now. It's quite spacious. But I couldn't take big furniture to a little, my sister said, you've got big house furniture, you need unit furniture. And so I had to let go of a lot of things that John and I had for 20 years, so, but if I wanted to move forward as being single and welcoming someone else into my life, then I had to let go of a lot of things that were keeping me stuck, hanging on to John, and not that I wanted to wipe him out of my life or forget him. That's not what I'm talking about. But we hang on to stuff which won't allow a new person to come into my life, and so I wanted to make sure, knowing what I know, that I wasn't stuck there. And it's a progression. I didn't go from stuck to unstuck. It's little by little, just becoming less and less stuck in that, being married to John's wife. What's my identity? Letting go of the identity that I'm John's wife, because I need a new identity of possibly being someone else's wife in the future. So it's letting that go to allow other things in a really positive way.
Yes, so important that progression. And this is where moving house is fantastic too. There was a stage there as a journalist. I was moving house every year, and I was clearing through every year. I'd clear through all my things. However, when you're in a house for 23 years, it's amazing what you can accumulate. And so then it becomes a conscious. Every time you bring something home, what are you going to let go of? And it reminds me of when I was working as a journalist at the Sun newspapers up until 2005. And I remember for about 2002, 2003, I started to feel really overwhelmed and feeling like burnout was happening as a journalist, because it's about a 5-year burnout that happens with journalists, where it's go, 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 and then, high adrenal issues, etc. And I had property at that point, 2003, and I really wanted to leave my full-time job, but I had all this fear around actually letting go of the full-time work. I was an entertainment reporter. I was getting all the VIP treatment, around town. I was getting all the amazing invite, and there were lots of perks of the job, interviewing people like the Hugh Jackmans, the Debbie Harrys, the Russell Crowes. Some amazing people I interviewed through that time. It was a really tough job to let go of. However, eventually, 2005, actually took 2 years after that for me to actually let go of that job. And it's amazing. I started a photography business initially. It evolved into a media business. And the work that started coming my way, once I shut that door, once I leaped over the cliff, as they say, and you learn to fly as you leap over the cliff. And sometimes easier said than done. However, it was a process. It was 2 years in my head of, how am I going to bring myself to let go of the security of full-time work? I had a mortgage to pay, etc. However, I had to sort of, sometimes just take the plunge, and it's amazing what can show up.
Yeah, because it's like, that's the thing. When you let go of something, amazing things show up. You think this is amazing, but once you let it go, more amazing stuff happens. Yeah. And that's what I help people with every day. A lot of people come to me going, I'm in this dreaded day job and I want to move into something that looks like this, and how we get there. And a lot of it is just your own thoughts. It's not the logistics of doing it. It's your own thoughts that are holding you back and keeping you stuck in that environment.
Yes, amazing. Such a great conversation. We will start wrapping up shortly. But any other thoughts on our topic today, how to move forward when you're stuck, and then we'll go into how people can work with you.
Yeah, well, I believe everyone needs a coach in every area. I don't easily get up at 4 a.m. to exercise. If I've got the appointment with the coach, I'm there, because I don't want to let him down, because I have a high value. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it in the time frame I'm doing it. I don't be late, But if I didn't have a coach, I'd be like, well, tomorrow. And a lot of us in human behavior are like that we need that appointment, in inverted commas. So, that accountability about it. But when I want to change something up in my life, I go and look for somebody who knows how to do that very well. And so, whether it's in social media or marketing or promotion or, in getting unstuck, find the person that can help you. I always go, and I say, at my events, always talk to the person who can help you with the outcome. Stop bitching and whining and moaning to somebody who can't help you change the outcome. Go and talk to somebody who can help you change the outcome. Because you'll just swirl around in negativity. Because don't go to your friends, because your friends will go pat you on the back and go, oh, it's going to be okay. Yeah, he's the baddie. You're the good one. It's nothing to do with you. He's the ass. You're fine, right? They're going to tell you all the things you want to hear, but that's going to not make you move on. Yeah.
Yes.
That's not going to help you get unstuck. If you want sympathy, go to your friends. Yeah. Go to somebody, I always say, who has, care and knowledge. Yeah. So has the knowledge about getting you forward, but still has the care for your outcome. Yeah. Because sometimes you can go, when I'm talking to business, I don't go to my parents and talk about my business. They haven't owned a business. They can't help me with my outcomes in that area. I've got to go and find someone who's done something in business that I want to achieve, that they've already done. And I go, how did you get there? Or can you help me get there? And pay handsomely for that. Pay handsomely for that. It is the most money I've spent on coaches have brought me money, lifetime money, 100-fold, more than 100-fold. It seems like a big investment at first, but the lifelong learnings that will bring you further income, connections, well-being, lifestyle, whatever that is for you, will be 1,000-fold, let's say. I'm not even exaggerating. I can't even put it into an amount. It's just so much comes back to you. So
Yes.
don't do it on your own.
Yeah, 100%. All coaches need coaches. And, I've invested $1 million or so in my business and personal development in 20 years, and it's been invaluable. I mean, I don't even recognize myself now to who I was 20 years ago before I started working with mentors. So you're either going to invest your time to save money or your money to save time. And really, what is the most valuable thing is time, is your life. This is your life, right? This is your life. And talking of time, you actually have an extraordinary offer for our viewers today, or our listeners, which involves your time.
I know.
You share about your free discovery session that you're offering for our viewers, valued at $1,550. That's amazing. So what can people do in that discovery session?
So you spend 30 minutes with me, we roll our sleeves up and we go to work. And so we work on the areas that you need, that are holding you back, keeping you stuck, challenging you in your life, in your business, or any area of your life. And at the end of that discovery session, I will guarantee you that you'll know your next steps, how to move forward and keep that momentum going. So, there's no sell. It is just my time for your people, Aldwyn. If people getting in to get one-on-one coaching with me, I'm full, right? So I'm opening this up just for your people because I want to give back. There's two people in this world, givers and takers. I'm a giver. And I want to just give pure, I call it content, but I'm not telling you what to do. The strategies, outcomes, whatever you need from me, without being sold to. Don't worry, because that's not the person I am. Aldwyn knows that. I will just help you where you need it.
Yes, 100%. I can vouch for that because I'm part of your SMJ master coaches, and I love being in your community, and you're very generous with your knowledge, and I've learned so much and connected with some extraordinary people as well. So to book that, you just go to smjcoachinginstitute.com/discovery-session. All the links are there in the chat. Thank you so much for that. And also your website, coaching.smjcoachinginstitute.com. What are some of your other offerings as well that you've got there on that website?
Yeah, well, that link is to my Grow Your Coaching Business workshop. So it's a 3-day virtual workshop happening in September. I only run it once a year. Can't guarantee it'll be next year, but at the moment it is on this September coming. And that's where I will take you through everything you need to know about growing a business, particularly a coaching business, from marketing, sales, AI, sessions, agreements, pricing, and your own thoughts and processes, your marketing, your promotion, everything you need to know to run a coaching business. And you'll go away with your business built. It's a workshop. It's not listen and take away, go, what do I do now? You will be doing during that 3 days and building it out and asking, even though it's full virtual, you'll see me full stage. It's not like a headshot like this. Full stage, you'll see me on the whiteboard running real life sessions. I get people who I have not planned to get. It's off the cuff. I'll get people to come up as clients and I'll run the session live. We break it down so you have tools in your tool belt to run these coaching sessions virtually. I'll show you how to build the business model, how to set it up, how to charge, what to say, and the like. So it's pretty full on 3 days. I need to meet 4 or 5, really. But it is action-packed. So even if you're beginning or you've been in coaching for a long time, it doesn't matter. You'll come along and you'll learn a whole heap of stuff.
Yeah, and I can vouch for that. I've attended several times and I absolutely love it. I've learned something new every time as well. It's been really, really insightful. And I've had some of my clients in my Mass Media Mastery program have attended and loved it as well. So I highly recommend check that out. Go along there to coaching.smjcoachinginstitute.com. You'll absolutely love it. 3 days. And the time goes really quick. Even though it's 3 days online, time just flies. There's so much amazing content, and you've got a great way to keep people engaged. So you're presenting style, and you're a straight shooter. You know, there's no BS about what you present.
And the other thing, Aldwyn, is I share what I'm doing right now, not what I did 20 years ago, not what I did 10 years ago, what's happening right now in this marketplace, in this environment. And if I'm not using it, I don't share it. So you'll see how I use it every day to earn 7 figures every year. Yeah.
Yes, love it. And I just want to do a shout out to David Kavanagh. Happy birthday, David Kavanagh, for recently. I saw lots of birthday posts. You've just come back from his Thailand internet business summit, I think he calls it, or AI summit.
Yeah, business summit workshop. It was a real workshop as well. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So shout out to David. I've attended some of those events over in Pattaya in Thailand. And
no, I was really honoured that it was asked to speak. I was the only female speaker there, so I was very honoured to be able to get on his stage. Yeah.
Yay. Awesome. Fantastic. Now, do you have a favourite quote or motto that you live by, Sharon, you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, there's a couple. One is you can't do business alone. Everyone needs somebody. You need clients, you need suppliers, you need coaches, you need, all sorts of people around you, friends, family, mentors. Like you gather them all around you and make sure that you're not doing it alone, because people go, oh, it's lonely out there. It's only because you're not incorporating all of these people. Get people around you, get the support you need so you're moving forward and you don't get stuck. The other one is he who controls your time controls your income. Be very, very mindful of your time. I have certain times of the day, like I said, it's not negotiable. Every Friday morning at 8 o'clock, I get my hair done. Nobody calls me a Friday at 8 o'clock. I don't answer the phone if someone calls me on Friday at 8 o'clock. I'm very consistent, with the routines in my life. So like in the morning routine, if someone wanted to meet up with me at 4 a.m., no, I don't do an appointment at 4 a.m. because we've got people all around the world, because this is my morning routine. Yeah. So control your time, have your ideal week. Say, this is what I'm doing when I'm doing it. And don't get into other people's chaos. What's urgent for them is not urgent for you. Like, I need this today. Well, you should have told me that 3 weeks ago, because you knew 3 weeks ago you needed it today. So, that's how I run, 9 companies. I can't have my team coming at me at a moment's notice, so I'm very, very consistent in being in control of my time.
Yeah, I love that. And that comes down to boundaries, to filling your own cup up first so that you can help others with the overflow. So to be of service, it's so important to have those boundaries and to have those big rock items, and to be mindful of your time and where you're investing your time. And I am very grateful for everyone who has joined us live as well on this. We've had MD Hassan Dipto. Hello, everyone. From LinkedIn, good to see you there. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you so much on Facebook. We've had also here Charles Caldwell is joining us from Hong Kong. Welcome from Charles, great to see you. Thank you for investing your time. And I'd love for you to share with us what you have got out of this interview for those who are tuning in live, or for those who are watching the replay. Please let us know in the comments. What are some gold nuggets that you've had from this interview? We have shared multiple gold nuggets, so much worth going back over. And I would like to share a quote as well with you today. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. The courage to continue. And structure does create freedom. Structure creates freedom. Now, Sharon is an absolute systems expert. Maybe we'll do another interview down the track, how to create great systems. But Sharon is into that. Of course, you wouldn't be able to franchise so well if you don't have great systems. So structure, discipline, organization, all the fun stuff that will definitely help create more freedom in your life. Now, for those who want to connect with me, you can hop along to linktr.ee/Aldwyn, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. In there, you'll find a link to our Fear to Freedom Facebook group, where you can get a copy of our latest Amazon best-selling book featuring 13 authors from around Australia. Very proud of that book. Also, we have the Global Good News News Challenge. We spoke about gratitude today, how important gratitude is. The Global Good News Challenge is a free monthly challenge where you can share gratitude and share your good news, not only help to decrease depression and suicide rates, but lift the energy on the planet. And we do have this Friday, the annual Good News Day, which is on the 8th of the 8th. It's actually the Lions Gate as well. Very strong energies at the moment. 8th of the 8th, this Friday, the 8th annual Good News Day, where I encourage you, in fact, I challenge you to share some good news on that day on your social media. Could be a post, could be a live video, could be a recorded video, could be some news you've heard on a good news site somewhere. Share some good news and notice how you feel when you do that. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. That's it right there in front of you. We have over 1,600 videos in there, some other amazing Media Queen TV interviews, and some of my other shows you'll find in there. It's all there. Let's stay connected. All my links there. Thank you so much once again, Sharon, for your time today. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. Any final words before?
Just go and do. If you just take one step today, do the one thing, you'll get unstuck and you'll keep moving forward.
Yay, take action. And it's been such a great show. I'm going to give you the clap. Yay. Yay. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Have a beautiful day wherever you are in the world, or night. And we'll see you again back soon for more magic on Media Queen TV. Thanks, Sharon. See you later.
Bye.